Our story begins with our heroine when she was little. At that time, she was going on a school trip with her classmates, but since she was a cute girl, she insisted on wearing a dress that was a different color from the uniform of the other students. After that, she went with them to the sea and kept walking alone on the beach until she got lost from her classmates. And because she was wearing a different dress, none of the teachers noticed her absence, and they all left without her. When our heroine realized that she was alone, she kept searching for them, but she failed and sat on the ground crying. Because of that, she was taken to an orphanage where she spent her childhood alone, since she had no father, no mother, and no relatives to ask about. Even during mealtime, no one cared about her or bothered to wake her up, so she was always late until the food was gone. Because of that, she would stay hungry to the point where she had to drink water just to fill her stomach. She lived like that for a long time until she grew up and entered high school, becoming a beautiful and delicate girl. We learned that her name is Sul. Even though she was kind, she was always bullied because she grew up as an orphan. They mocked her and said she smelled bad. Not only that, but they would also stick chewing gum in her hair. But she didn't care and would simply cut her hair because she was humble and didn't want to fight with them. But they still wouldn't stop. They threw food and juice at her because she was poor and didn't have money like them. Because of that, she was forced to work part-time to support herself. She started delivering medicine to pharmacies, but she refused to give up and decided to study hard and get high grades so she could go to university and change her life. She stayed up late every night, studying alone in the dark while everyone else was asleep. And since she was smart, she understood quickly, and she succeeded in getting high grades in school exams. Because of that, her ranking improved, and she became third in the school. From then on, people started to change the way they treated her. Even the orphanage director started to care about her and would bring her food while she studied so that she could succeed. Sol decided to study even harder and aim to be number one so that everyone would respect her more and more. She started taking medicine to stay awake, but because of the large amounts of medicine she was taking, she began hallucinating, imagining herself studying underwater to keep herself awake. Because of this, she succeeded in her exam, and this time she achieved her goal and became the top student in the school. After that, her classmates stopped bullying her, and Sol decided to keep studying to maintain her rank. She kept doing this all day long, even during break time, but she continued taking the medicine that helped her study, to the point that she started stealing it from the pharmacies where she worked. All of this just to stay awake, until she finally received a scholarship to a prestigious school that only 1% of students in Korea are able to enter. Our heroine was so happy and felt like luck had finally smiled upon her. She quit her job and started preparing herself to leave the orphanage. After 2 months, the day she was waiting for finally arrived. She packed her bag and traveled to the city to attend the school. But since it was her first time in the city, she got lost, following the map until she finally managed to reach it. There, she was surprised to see how big the school was and that all the girls there were rich. She felt excited and decided to start a new life. She went to the administration office, but the staff member was surprised at how she looked and that she had come alone without a guardian. Our heroine felt embarrassed because she grew up in an orphanage, and the staff member asked her to buy the school uniform. Sol promised she would and then left to attend the welcoming ceremony, since today was the first day of school. When she went out, she asked 2 girls for directions to the auditorium, but they figured out she was poor from her clothes and refused to talk to her. But she saw a large group of girls gathered, so she followed them until she finally reached the auditorium. There, she saw that the girls' parents were present with them, and she felt embarrassed because she was the only one without family. Suddenly, an old poor woman entered the auditorium to sell flowers. The security tried to remove her, but she refused and told them she wouldn't leave until she sold all the flowers she had. Sol felt pity for her and wanted to help, but she didn't have any money to give her. Suddenly, a rich girl named Ji Yi appeared. She went to the old woman, gave her a lot of money, and bought all the flowers from her. The old woman thanked her and left the place. Because of that, Sul admired what Ji Yi did and realized she was kind and humble. Then, Ji Yi went up on stage, introduced herself, and welcomed the new student. She spoke in several languages, and everyone was impressed by her, clapping for her because she was smart, beautiful, and rich, possessing all the qualities of the perfect student. Ji Yi then asked everyone present to stand for a moment of silence in memory of their teacher who had passed away some time ago. They did so, but our heroine used the chance to leave the auditorium. Ji Yi noticed her and turned her gaze toward her. After that, Sol went to the classroom assigned for scholarship students, since none of the girls wanted to sit next to her, so she stayed alone. The teacher began speaking to them and asked them to study hard so that they could be as excellent as Ji Yi. She told them Ji Yi was the most outstanding and famous student in the school, always ranking first. Everyone expected her to go to medical school. They admired her and even asked which class Ji Yi was in so they could try to meet her and take pictures with her. But suddenly, Ji Yi entered their classroom, surprising everyone. The teacher welcomed her and the students began calling out to her. Everyone stood up wanting her to sit next to them. Suddenly, Sol's bag fell to the floor. Sol felt embarrassed and went to pick up her things and put them back in place. They bully her because she's poor, but Ga is the only one who goes to help. After that, she starts walking around the classroom looking for a place to sit. She looks at the girls, but none of them catch her attention until she goes to Sol and decides to sit next to her. She introduces herself and asks her to be friends, and everyone is shocked. Nobody can believe what just happened. During recess, Sol goes to the bathroom, but 3 girls follow her, and when she comes out, they start talking. They ask her to switch seats with them because they want to sit next to G, and they offer her a lot of money. But Sol refuses to take anything from them, and instead agrees to switch with a girl who sits in the front so she can focus on the lesson. But the other 2 girls get jealous and bully her because she's poor and can't afford a school uniform. Suddenly, Ga enters the bathroom and tells them that it's time for lunch. The girls get excited, thinking she came for them, but instead, she grabs Sul's hand and takes her to eat together. As they walk through the students, everyone is shocked to see Sul, the outcast, walking with G. Sol feels awkward and asks her to let go of her hand, but Ga refuses because she's afraid of losing her in the crowd. She brings her to the school cafeteria, and they sit down to eat together. Then the rich students come to sit with them and try to get to know Sul, but she becomes nervous, afraid they'll find out she grew up in an orphanage. Each of them starts sharing her dream. One wants to be a lawyer like her father, another wants to be a famous artist. Our heroine feels embarrassed because she's been raised away from her parents her whole life, and she tells them that her dream is to enter medical school. They are surprised by her words because she wants to become a doctor, and they ask if she takes private lessons. She explains that she studies on her own, which surprises the students and makes them realize she's smart and hard. G tells her that if she ever feels sick, she should tell her, and she'll have her father examine her since he's a doctor and owns a hospital. Sol becomes anxious, afraid they'll find out she takes medication, but she thanks her and says she's fine. She leaves her and goes back to the classroom, deciding to distance herself. She goes to take her bag so she can change her seat, but then she sees a strange-looking girl. The girl asks if she got Ji's permission first. Sol is confused and tells her, "I'm free, I don't need her permission." She notices that Sol is taking medication, so she offers her water, but the girl throws the water on the ground, suspecting that Sol put something in it. Sol is shocked by her behavior and thinks she's crazy, explaining she only wanted to help, but the girl tells her that Ji chose you, and that means you won't be able to live a normal life. Sol notices scars on the girl's hands and starts to feel that something strange is happening in the class. Meanwhile, Ga is in the lab, and a nerdy student goes to talk to her, asking why she wants to be friends with Sul, but Ga scares her with the mouse she's experimenting on, telling her that Sul is special and that she just wants to have fun with her. After that, Ga returns to the classroom, only to find that Sul has changed her seat. She goes to ask her why she did that. Sul becomes nervous and lies, saying that her eyesight is weak, so she wants to sit in the front. Ji then decides to sit next to her in front, asking the girl beside her to switch seat, but Sul refuses and says she doesn't want to cause trouble for anyone. The girls are shocked that Sul doesn't want to sit next to Ji because no student ever refuses her, but Ga laughs, decides to let her be, and goes to sit next to another girl. That girl is overjoyed and tells her, "It's been my dream for a long time to get to know you, and this is the first time I've sat next to someone smart." Ji replies, "It's also the first time I've sat next to someone I didn't choose." Then she laughs and pretends she was joking. Later, Sul finds out where her family is, but she is shocked to learn that her mother had died long ago and her father had just recently passed away. She attends his funeral and overhears people talking about, saying she'll have to live with her stepmother. She goes to ask about her and receives her father's belongings, where she finds a phone. She tries to unlock it but doesn't know the password. Then she decides to post an online ad to buy a second-hand school uniform because she doesn't have money. A man contacts her and arranges a meeting. Sul goes, walks until she reaches the place, takes the uniform from him, and then goes to the laundry shop to have it cleaned. She tries again to unlock her father's phone, but still fails. Suddenly, she gets a call from an unknown number. When she answers, no one speaks, and the call is cut off. She is left confused, and the next day she goes back to school as usual. When she enters the classroom, she bumps into a bullying student who spills juice all over her. The bully pretends she didn't mean it, and Sul forgives her because she doesn't want any trouble, saying she'll go wash it off. But the bully mocks her, comes closer, and tells her that it actually suits her more because she's poor and smells bad. The students keep laughing. Sul can't bear their stare, and she remembers her old school days, where girls used to bully her, drag her to the rooftop, and beat her up because she was poor and an orphan. She snaps out of her memories and heads to the bathroom to wash her clothes, but Ji walks in and hugs her to comfort her, giving her spare clothes to wear. But Sul refuses to take them and asks Ga to leave her alone because she doesn't want any trouble. Ga gets upset by her word, leaves, and walks away. Sul then has no choice but to wear her dirty clothes and return to class. The teacher walks in, hands out the exam papers, and tells them they have 30 minutes before she collects them. Sul begins answering, but she's shocked to find questions they haven't studied yet, while the other students are answering normally. She realizes that they all attend private tutoring. She tries to answer the questions she knows, but time runs out and the teacher collects the paper. Afterwards, the teacher marks them and announces each student's grade. Ji scores the highest and ranks first, but Sul gets a terrible grade because she left many questions unanswered. Embarrassed, she goes to speak with the teacher, telling her that some of the questions weren't even in their curriculum, but the teacher treats treats her harsh, saying she should rely on herself like the rest of her classmates. She mocks her, saying she doubts Sul was really the top student in her old school and accuses her of cheating. During the break, Sul goes to the cafeteria, but overhears students making fun of her and her appearance. Despite this, she ignores their words and eats alone. When she finishes, she sees her picture in the school group chat. Everyone now knows she bought a second-hand uniform, and they keep insulting. Later, she finds out the exam questions were leaked and realizes the students had already gotten them during tutoring session. To confirm it herself, she pretends she wants to join and excuses herself to go to the bath. She sneaks into the tutoring room and decides to record them with her phone to expose them. But the principal sees her and tries to stop her. Frightened, Sol runs away and takes the elevator, but she runs into GA. She thinks GA will turn her in, but instead, GA helps her, giving her her cap so no one will recognize her. GA also shows her the emergency exit door to escape and tells her to run to the rooftop, promising she'll come to help. Sol has no choice but to trust her and follows her instruction, running until she reaches the rooftop. Suddenly, she hears footsteps approach. Scared, she shuts her eyes, but when she opens them, she finds GE holding out her hand with a smile. Sol climbs up, feeling as if GA is an angel sent from heaven to save her from the disaster she was caught in. Then we see a flashback revealing GE's story. Her father is a wealthy hospital owner, but he was obsessed with perfection and wanted his daughter to be number one in everything, even before she was born. That's why he chose a specific day for his wife to give birth, believing it would make his daughter lucky in life. All the shamans and fortune tellers said she would be special and successful, and that's exactly what happened. Even if it was all superstition, it seemed to come true. From a young age, GE was talented in everything: dancing, singing, drawing, and even sport. Her mother was always proud of her and supportive, but her father wanted her to always come first in everything. Because of that, he became harsh, forcing her to study all the time to the point where she wouldn't even take breaks to go to the bath. But since GA was smart, she managed to study her older sister's subjects easily and even outperformed her. Her father then began setting up competitions and tests between them, where the one who finished first would win. Not only that, but he also punished the loser and made the winner hit her. GE always won, but she cried because she was kind and didn't want to hit any. Still, her father talked to her, convincing her that if she didn't do it, her sister would defeat her and hurt her instead. GA had no choice but to listen to it. When she grew up and entered school, she decided to cut ties with her sister. And we learned that her father used to take his family and go to church every week, pray, and confess their sin. But GA, being the perfect student, didn't see herself doing anything wrong, and she thought she didn't deserve to confess anything. That's why she decided to change and do whatever she wanted so she could find something to confess at church. She turned into a bully, started smoking cigarettes, going out with boys, and staying out late at night. Back to the present, she asks Sul to come with her and takes her to her father's hospital. Sul gets surprised by the size of the hospital and realizes that only rich people can enter there. GA goes to ask the secretary about her father, but finds him busy. Then she takes Seul to her room, asks her not to refuse her help, and gives her a new uniform to wear instead of her own clothes. This time, Seul is forced to agree, but she gets surprised about how GA knew her name and asks why she's interested in it. GA tells her, "I respect you because you were always first in school with your own effort, without any private lessons," and she explains that she wants to help her with lessons in exchange for studying together. Suddenly, they hear someone near them, so they hide inside the closet. It turns out to be the nerdy student and her rich friend. They keep talking badly about Seul because she's poor and came from a village. Seul feels sad from their words, but GE covers her ears so she doesn't have to hear anything. Suddenly, a message arrives on GE's phone. The students hear the sound and suspect someone is inside the closet, so they get closer to check. But GA sends them a message saying she's waiting for them to study together, so they are forced to leave. After that, GA takes Seul and they get out of the closet and reach the elevator without anyone seeing. She tells her that they will meet tomorrow at school, thanks Seul for everything, and leaves. But while she's leaving, someone grabs her. She gets scared, but he tells her that her bag is open, so she thanks and quickly runs away. At the same time, GA goes to her friends to study together, and they take a private lesson since the three of them are from rich families. The teacher starts explaining, gives them advice, and tells each of them what to do to get into the college they want. When they finish, GE's father is waiting for them in a car, and he drives each one of them to her house. After dropping them off, he talks with his daughter about studying and asks about Seul, because he heard she was always first in her school. GA gets scared he might do something to her, and tells him that Seul is not a threat to her, and that she will be able to come first, as always. When she returns home, she goes to weigh herself and gets shocked. She goes into the bathroom to get rid of the 40 grams in her stomach. After that, she starts exercising to return again to her ideal weight. Seul remembers the person who warned her that her bag was open, because she saw him with GE and realized he was her father. She keeps thinking that GA lives a perfect life. She envies her because she comes from a rich family and has a famous father who takes care of her, while Seul grew up in an orphanage, and when she returned to her parents, she found them dead. She feels sad and thinks that life is unfair. She realizes realizes that the only solution to improve her life and make people respect her is to study and be number one. She decides to return to taking her pills that keep her awake all night. She starts seeing hallucinations and imagines herself studying at the beach, the only place where she stays focused and doesn't give herself a chance to sleep. The next day, she goes to school, enters the classroom confidently, goes to Ji, and asks if she can sit next to her again. The students react and think Ji will refuse, but she shocks everyone and agrees, telling her, "This is your place from the beginning. No one can take it anyway." Sol gets happy, sits next to her, and they keep talking and studying together. The students start feeling jealous of their relationship. Then the supervising teacher enters and decides to hold class president election. Everyone expects the nerdy student to win, but Ji asks the teacher to nominate Sol because she is suitable for the position. The students get surprised, but unfortunately no one can go against Ji's word, so the teacher is forced to do that. Voting begins. When it's time for the results, everyone is surprised that Sol won. The nerdy student gets angry and suspects the election is rigged. She goes to review the papers herself, but finds everything correct. She realizes that the students voted for Sol because they were afraid of Ji. Sol goes to talk to her, asks her to accept defeat, and offers her to be her vice president. She also tells her to apologize to their classmates because she doubted. At that moment, the nerdy student feels embarrassed and is forced to do so. At the end of the day, Sol goes back home, but sees a man's shoes and realizes that her father's girlfriend's there. She keeps leaving the house until she leaves, and then she goes to the park, sitting there alone. She tries to unlock her father's phone, but fails. Suddenly, she gets a message from Ga on her own phone, asking to meet up to celebrate her winning the election. Sol is forced to agree and goes to a music shop. Ga arrives, and they sing and dance together happily. After they finish and walk together, Sol feels worried that the nerdy student might get upset with Ga because of the election, but Ga tells her they aren't really friends and that the only thing between them is mutual benefits. They just study together. Sol then says, "I've always wished to have a close friend because all my life I've been living alone." Ji gets touched by her words and tells her, "Consider me your close friend and even your sister." She then asks her to come with her to her house. Sol feels hesitant because she's poor, unlike Ji, but Ji encourages her, takes her by the hand, and they go together. When she arrives, she's surprised by the wide house and sees a little dog. She gets scared of it, but Ji reassures her that it's friendly and doesn't bite, and explains that it belongs to her older sister who loves animals. Sol is surprised because it's the first time she finds out Ga has a sister, but Ga tells her they aren't close. Then she takes her to show her her room, where Ga talks a lot about fish, saying she feels like she's in the middle of the ocean, and reveals that she loves the sea and water because they make her feel safe. Suddenly, the dog comes in, carrying a dress. Sol feels upset when she sees it, because it reminds her of painful memory, and she starts telling Ga everything about her childhood. She explains that the dress is similar to the one she wore when she was little, and because of it, she got separated from her classmates during a school trip, ending up raised in an orphanage. When she grew older, she found out her family had died, and only her father's girlfriend remained. Ga feels emotional listening to her story, tries to comfort her, and tells her it wasn't her fault, and that the teachers were the ones to blame for leaving her behind. She then offers her to spend the night since it's already late. Sol is happy and agrees, but at night, while she is sleeping, Sol has a nightmare and wakes up startled. She sees Ga asleep and doesn't want to disturb her. She goes to the bathroom to wash her face, but when she returns, she sees a message on Gi's phone from the bully girl, saying she regrets what she did, apologizes to Sol, and asks her to delete her video. Sol is shocked by what she reads and gets curious to know what's going on. She decides to unlock the phone and finds information about herself and her father, as well as a photo of her as a child and a missing child announced. Sol is shocked to realize that Ji knew everything about her from the beginning, and she starts to think Ga is deceiving. Meanwhile, the nerdy student feels bitter toward Ga because she lost the election because of her. She recalls a flashback from her childhood. Back then, she always ranked second in school, which made her feel jealous, constantly fighting with the top student. Until one day, she got lucky when that girl moved abroad to continue her studies. She was happy, thinking she would finally be number one. But because she was unlucky, Ji transferred to her school. Ji was beautiful, popular, and also ranked first. Because of that, all the students wanted to know her, and the nerdy student was forced to befriend her just to become popular too. One day, the most handsome boy in school came to meet her and asked her out after class. Of course, she agreed, and they started going out every day. She was happy because she thought he liked her, until the fateful day came. That day, he confessed that he was only dating her to get closer to Ji and asked her to give him Ji's number. She was shocked by what she heard, and from that moment, she hated and resented Ji. She comes out of her memories imagining herself strangling Ji to finish her off, and she decides to take revenge on her because she lost the election because of her. The next day, Ji wakes up and is surprised to find Seul gone. She had set up a tracking app on her phone and now learns Seul's home address, wondering why she left without saying anything. Afterward, Ji has breakfast with her father and asks if he was the one who drove her friend away, but he tells her he didn't do anything. He tells her to focus on studying and adds that her older sister wants to get higher grades than her. But Ji doesn't care because she is confident in herself. When she goes to school, she finds Seul there, and when she tries to talk to her, she notices Seul is avoiding her. She follows her again and asks why she left while she was asleep. Sul explains that her stepmother wanted her, and she goes to the administration office to get the attendance record. There, she runs into the bully and finds out that she's transferring to another school. Sul asks Ji if she knows the reason, but Ji pretends to be innocent and clueless. She even goes to say goodbye to the bully before returning to class. Back in class, the teacher hands back the essays they had written. To everyone's surprise, Sul receives the highest grade. Shocked, the students ask the teacher to read her essay aloud, but he refuses, saying it contains personal matter. Sul feels relieved and quickly hides the paper in her bag, not wanting anyone to know she grew up in an orphanage. During break, a wealthy girl goes to the teacher's office, pretending to ask about the lesson. When he steps out, she sneaks a look at Sul's essay and is shocked by the secrets written inside. Deciding to expose her, she later steals the essay from Sul's bag and distributes copies to the other students. Soon after, Sul realizes it's missing and frantically searches for it, only to discover that someone had already taken photos and shared it around. The students begin reading it, uncovering the truth about her orphanage background. Ji, angry, snatches the copies away and warns the others not to read them without her permission. But Sul pulls her aside, confronting her about what she saw on her phone, that Ji had known her secret from the beginning and also had a video of the bully taken with her phone. It's revealed that Ji once threatened the bully, saying if she ever exposed her, she'd reveal that the bully had been buying leaked exam papers. Terrified, the bully begged Ji for forgiveness, but Ji only laughed and told Sul, "You need to leave this school as punishment for getting too close to something that belonged to me." Sul demands to know why Ji is doing this. Ji admits it was partly to get revenge on the bully, but Sul grows furious, feeling like Ji is just treating her as a pawn. When Sul presses her about what she stands to gain, Ji refuses to explain, leaving Sul to figure it out on her own. She walks away, while Sul overhears her classmates whispering about her orphanage background, but Sul doesn't let it bother her, staying confident. Later, the nerdy student council girl approaches Sul and asks her to attend a student council meeting. Reluctantly, Sul agreed. There, the girl reveals that she read Sul's essay and learned that her father was once a teacher at their school. She explains that he died in Ji's father's hospital due to a medical error, which is why Sul's stepmother had filed a lawsuit against. Sul is stunned. She never realized Ji had gotten close to her just to make her stepmother drop the case. Memories of all the times Ji had helped her flood back, and she can't believe it had all been an act. The student council girl advises Sul to distance herself from Ji, but reassures her that she can always ask for help if needed. Grateful, Sul thanks her and leaves. Ji keeps sending Sul countless messages, but she ignores them. Returning home, Sul finds the place in a mess and starts cleaning, only to discover the lawsuit papers her stepmother had filed against Ji's father. Shocked, she confronts her stepmother during dinner and begs her not to drop the case. The next day at school, the teacher gives out review questions for the upcoming exam. Sul tries to focus, but struggles. Her medication is running out, and without it, she starts hallucinating again. Later, she desperately searches pharmacies for refill, but none have the drug. With exams approaching, she panics, knowing she can't study without. Finally, she finds someone selling it online and arranges to meet them at night in an isolated spot. But when she arrives, she finds Ji waiting instead. Ji smirks, saying, "So, now I know how you always ranked first." She offers Sel even stronger pill, but Sel refuses, insisting she doesn't want anything from her. Ji follows her, however, and challenges her. "If you score higher than me in the exams, I'll tell you why I've been collecting information about you." She warns Sel that to do that, she'll need the pills to stay awake and focused, then hands her summaries private tutoring session. Reluctantly, Sel starts using the new pills, and to her shock, they work even better than her old medication. But the side effects intensify, and she begins hallucinating more often. Meanwhile, the supposedly wealthy girl is revealed to be poor and drowning in debt. She secretly visits a nightclub looking for work, but the manager refuses when she learns she's still in school. Returning home, the girl takes staged photos to post online, pretending she has a glamorous life to gain followers. Later, she approaches Ji-Yi's father at his jogging spot and tells him she needs money. When he asks what she's willing to do, she replies, "Anything." Smiling, he agrees, on the condition that she becomes his spy, reporting everything about Ji. The next day, Sul goes to school and reviews the study notes Ji had given her. When the teacher hands out the exam, she is stunned to see that the questions are identical to those in Ji-Yi's note. Ji catches her eye and smirks, signaling her to keep quiet. Sul answers everything correctly, and when the results come out, both she and Ji are tied for first place. But instead of celebrating, the other students resent Sul, believing it's unfair that an orphaned poor girl could rank higher than them. They keep staring at her with jealousy, and Sul leaves them and walks away. But suddenly, she receives a phone call. When she answers, she finds out it's a guy who was with her in the orphanage, telling her he's waiting outside the school. He keeps waving at her, but she's afraid someone might see him, so she tells him to leave. However, the rich girl notices him and thinks he's her boyfriend. After school, our heroine is forced to meet him. She asks what he wants from her, and he takes her to a clothing store. There, he tells her, "I knew you were stealing the medicine you were distributing." He threatens to expose her and tell everyone that this is the reason for her success. Sul panics panics and tells him she already stopped taking it, but he knows she's lying because she ranked first in class. She gets upset and he drags her into the fitting room. He demands that she pay back the cost of the stolen medicine and sleep with him, giving her a 1-week deadline. Sol is forced to listen to him because even though he's handsome, he's a thug and intimidating. Everyone fears him. She leaves him and goes back to school, where she finds out they're going for a medical checkup to confirm their health. She joins them and gets on the bus, but she refuses to sit next to Ga and instead sits beside the rich girl. The whole way she's anxious, afraid they'll find out she's unfortunately taking medication. They arrive at the hospital and start changing clothes for the checkups. Sol gets nervous and doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, Ji sends her a message saying she'll help her. She asks her to meet on the rooftop. Sol is overjoyed and runs up there. When she arrives, she finds Ga standing fearlessly on the edge. Sol drops to her knees and admits she's willing to do anything Ga asks. She begs her to keep her secret. She explains that studying was the only thing that earned her respect, and if the truth comes out, she'll be treated like an outcast again. She pleads with her to help her achieve her dream of entering medical school, promising to convince her stepmother to drop the lawsuit. Ga reaches out her hand and tells her she's not doing this because of the lawsuit. She assures her that she'll always protect her no matter what. Ga gives her a sample to switch so no one will know Seul is taking anything. She tells her, "I want both of us to be at the top." Then she wraps a scarf around her neck to keep her warm and walks away. Seul is surprised by her kindness and returns to the hospital to hand in the switch sample, relieved that no one will discover her secret. The doctor asks her to lie down for a blood test to confirm she's healthy and not anxious. Sol closes her eye, but dreams of the day she got lost during the school trip, feeling scared. In her dream, Ji appears and holds her hand to comfort her. When Sol wakes up, she finds Ji standing in front of her. She thanks her for everything she's done. Later, they learn there's a celebration for the school's anniversary. They decide to go together to enjoy their success, buying gifts and spending a nice time together. But Ji's father is also at the event and becomes upset about their friendship. Worried Sol will distract his daughter from studying. He takes away their Pepsi and food, saying those things are unhealthy, but Sol doesn't agree. She eats and drinks what she wants, telling him that people only live once and must enjoy life. Ji admires her words and does the same. They go try out games, throwing balls at each other, and Sol feels happy. For the first time, she feels free. She laughs wholeheartedly because her father always controls, but this time, she's living as she wants. At the end of the day, they sit together, and Seal tells Ji she now considers her a close friend. Ji is delighted here. They go watch the fireworks, growing even closer. But at that moment, Ji's father goes to meet the rich girl. He asks her to steal Sol's father's phone, knowing it's in her bag. She agrees in exchange for a large sum of money. Afterward, she gets out of the car, but another student sees her and takes a picture with her, then sends it to Ji. Ji is shocked and realizes they're plotting something. She leaves Sol and runs to stop her, secretly following without being noticed. She discovers the girl has stolen Sol's father's phone and hidden it under a table while charging it. Ji takes the phone and goes into the bathroom, but finds it locked with a password. She doesn't know what to do, but using her cleverness, she tries the date when Sol got lost as a child, and it works. She unlocks it and starts searching, knowing it must hold evidence against her father, which is why he wanted it. Inside, she finds a picture of her father with a female student, but when she zooms in, she's shocked to see it's her own older sister. At that moment, Sol discovers that her phone has disappeared from her bag, and she suspects that Ji is the one who took it. She keeps searching for it everywhere, and Ji's father sees her. He pretends to help her look, but she doesn't feel comfortable around him. Suddenly, the crazy student picks a fight with her. She's drunk and out of control, accusing Sol of kidnapping Ji and stealing her best friend. Sol tries to calm her down, but the student is holding a knife and yells, "Don't you dare come closer or I'll stab you." Ji sees what's happening from the window and rushes to help her, but suddenly, someone with their face hidden enters. She gets scared and steps back, asking who he is. When he takes off his jacket, she's shocked, and we see a flashback to their childhood. We learn that her sister was smart and capable of solving the test their father made before she did, but she never agreed to do it. Instead, she deliberately lost so she could protect Ji and take the beatings in her place. She always cared for her and tried to shield her from hearing their parents' fights so she wouldn't be scared of the shouting. But as we know, their father convinced Ji that she had to study harder, distance herself from her sister, and surpass her. Sadly, Ji obeyed. As they grew up, she drifted away from her sister and treated her with arrogance, even though she was the one who loved her most, the one who sacrificed herself. Still, her sister always held on to hope that Ji would love her again. She prayed for it whenever she went to church. But one day, she suddenly felt exhausted and collapsed. At the hospital, they found out her condition was due to lack of sleep. Instead of letting her rest, their cruel father told her she had to go back to school and study because exams were near. Ji's sister had no choice. She attended classes while so sick that she imagined her father watching her every move. Because of her illness, she couldn't focus anymore. She feared she wouldn't be able to stay at the top of her class and that her father would throw her out of the house. In despair, she decided to sneak into the school at night and steal the exam papers. And she did. But suddenly, Sol's father, who worked as a teacher, caught her. He was shocked to see her since she was known as a top student. Unable to bear the situation, she fainted in front of him. Sol's father stayed by her side until she woke up. She dropped to her knees, begging him not to tell anyone, because if her father found out, he would destroy her. He was moved by her words and her suffering. He helped her up and asked her to tell him everything so he could help. Ji-ye's sister opened up, revealing the abuse she faced and her father's cruelty. She pleaded with Seul's father to stay by her side and not abandon her. But suddenly, her father walked in and secretly recorded them together, intending to spread a rumor that they were in a relation. Snapping out of her memories, Ji-ye realizes that their father was the true cause of Seul's father's death. She demands the phone from her sister, insisting it contains the photos and videos proving their father is a criminal. But Ji-ye doesn't believe her. They fight over it, and in the struggle, the phone falls out of the window. Her sister risks her life, jumping down after it and searching through the bushes in the dark. A security guard spots her and tries to catch her, but she panics and runs away. Ji-ye follows and manages to find the phone. When she returns to the party, she learns that Seul has been injured. The students panic and try to escape the school, but the principal locks the gates to prevent anyone from talking about what happened. Ji-ye is forced to climb over the wall. She learns that Seul was taken by ambulance to her father's hospital, and that's the real disaster. She panics, feeling her life is in danger, and rushes there, arriving just in time. But she finds her father treating Seul's shoulder wound. Ji-ye feels pity for Seul and holds her hand as she sleeps. Yet her father isn't easy to deal with. He tells Ji-ye to stitch the wound herself so she can practice for medical school. Ji-ye has no choice but to comply. She puts on gloves and begins stitching, afraid he might hurt Seul if she refuses. Later that night, Seul wakes up and realizes she's in Ji-ye's father's hospital. She remembers everything. When she opens the phone, she finds a video of the crazy student attacking her. It has already spread everywhere. Suddenly, Ji-ye arrives, saying she was worried about her. She brings a wheelchair to take her out for fresh air. They go to the garden, but Seul asks about her father's phone. Ji-ye pretends she knows nothing about it and instead tells her there are rumors about her father being in a relationship with a student. Seul is devastated, insisting her father would never do such. She leaves, upset, to return to her room. Then, she suddenly receives a call from the thug she knew at the orphan. He threatens her, demanding money, or he'll expose her. He orders her to steal medicine from the hospital and give it to him so he can sell it, and then they'll be even. Ji-ye has no choice but to obey. She sneaks into the storage room. And then, the shock. Who's that lying on the ground? A dead body. Suddenly, someone appears behind her and locks the door. It's Ji-ye's father. Seul is horrified to see him. He takes the phone from her hand and ends the call. He tells her that the girl has no family to speak for her, and that he is experimenting on her and performing surgeries to advance medical knowledge. He asks her to keep it a secret and not tell anyone. He also reveals the face of the girl on the ground to show her appearance, but she can't handle it. She panics and tries to leave, only to find the door locked with a password. Ji-ye's father approaches her and says, "To become a doctor, you have to be brave and not fear the sight of blood." He opens the door and lets her leave, and Seul realizes that he is a madman. She leaves him behind and walks away. At that time, Ji-ye is heading back home with her dog, but suddenly the dog starts barking nonstop. She feels that someone is following her, gets scared, picks up the dog, and tries to run away from the place. But suddenly, someone appears behind her and shocks her with the electric watch, causing her to fall to the ground and faint. When she wakes up, she finds her sister in front of her. She asks her what she wants. Her sister demands that she give her their father's phone, but Ji-ye tells her that she doesn't have it with her right now, and asks if she is really sure that their father was the one who got rid of the teacher. Yes, dear viewer, this is the crime that happened. The teacher who died at the beginning of the series, the person accused of it, is Ji-ye's father, and she learns that her sister saw it with her own eye, and that the video on the phone is proof of what she says. That's why she ran away from her father. Ji-ye repeats her questions to make sure of what she's saying, and finally gives her another phone so she can contact her whenever she needs her. The next day at school, the police officer comes to investigate what happened yesterday at the party. He starts taking statements from the student, and all of them say that the crazy student is not normal and takes strange pills. And they find out that she did this because she was jealous of Seul for being the top student, and also because Seul took her friend Ji-ye away from her. Later, Seul heads to school, and her stepmother personally drives her there. She asks her to take care of herself, and explains that the man whose shoes Seul saw at their house was just the lawyer, and there was nothing between them. Seul feels happy, realizes she had wronged her, thanks her for caring, leaves her, and enters the school. But as soon as the staff member sees her, she asks her to come along, takes her to the principal's office, and a meeting is held. There she finds the girl who attacked her and her family, but no one is present with Seul because she is an orphan and her parents are dead. She feels embarrassed and tells them that she does have a guardian, and insists on calling her stepmother to come. She calls her, and as soon as her stepmother sees her number, she knows Seul is in trouble, and immediately decides to stand by her. She arrives at the meeting, surprising everyone with how fast she came just for her. Seul is happy, realizes her kindness, and changes her opinion about her. Her stepmother sits with with her and asks the principal to give Seol her rights back since she was hurt and could have died. But the principal sides with the student who attacked because she belongs to a rich family and her father donates a lot of money to the school. She forces her to testify against Seol and claim that Seol was the one who gave her the pills, which is why she wasn't in her right mind. Seol is shocked by her words, starts crying, and tries to defend herself, but no one believes her because she is poor. They decide to investigate her for allegedly selling those pills to the student. The police officer arrives to take her statement, threatens her to confess, and tells her that he will prevent her from entering university. Seol becomes confused, not knowing what to do, scared her future might be ruined. But she insists on telling the truth and reveals to him that Ji is the one selling the pill. After that, she returns to class and Ji tries to talk to her, but she doesn't respond. Ji gets upset by her behavior. She then goes to the principal's office to find out what happened, but she sees her standing with her father talking about Seol and realizes they want to frame her for selling the pills and expel her from school. Ji decides to stand by her and help her. She returns to the classroom and tries to carry Seol's bag for her because her hands are injured, but Seol refuses and tells her someone is waiting for her. Suddenly, the thug arrives, enters the classroom pretending to be her boyfriend, picks up her bag, and leaves with her, taking her to his place. There, he asks her how she bought the pills that keep her awake study. Seol is forced to tell him everything and explains that someone created an email online and is the one selling them. But he tells her to send a message to that email pretending she wants to buy so he can catch them. She listens to his advice. The next day, Ji goes to the place where she hides the pill, but is shocked to find them gone, realizing that a student took them. She asks about her, but the girl tells her that she put them in Seol's locker. Ji is stunned, realizing they want to report her to the police, and she runs to stop. She tries calling Seol, but Seol doesn't answer. She realizes Seol is on her way to the locker, with the thug following her until she arrives at the locker spot. Ji arrives just in time and realizes that a trap was set for Seol. She takes her, and they escape from the place before the police arrive. They ride the subway, and Seol understands everything. Ji tells her that the student had reported them to the police and wanted them to arrest her. Seol asks about the thug who took her from the classroom, questioning whether he was really her boyfriend. She is forced to tell the truth. He was with her at the orphanage and was the one giving her the pills that kept her awake. She also defends him, explaining he would cause her problems otherwise, and tells Ji about her older sister, revealing that she knows information about her father's death. She tries to contact her sister, but finds her phone locked. Ji had planned ahead, installing a tracking program on her sister's phone to know her location. She is surprised to find her at their house and suspects that her father caught her. She rushes to check, searches everywhere, yet still cannot find her. When she calls, she hears the ringtone of the phone her sister gave her and is shocked to find her in her room. She is confused and doesn't understand anything. Suddenly, her father enters and she mistakenly thinks she is talking to her sister. He approaches her and notices that her temperature is high. He asks her to rest because the exams are approaching. After he leaves, she opens the box where she had hidden Seol's father's phone, only to find it gone. She is confused and doesn't know who took it, her father or her sister. The next day at school, she attends a student meeting. The police arrive and tell them that someone was acting as a dealer, selling things, and asks if they knew who it was. Ji speaks to him, reveals she is her sister, and admits she stole the pills from her father's hospital and sold them. Seol is shocked by this revelation. When the meeting ends, she goes to talk to her. Seol asks why she did it, lied, and framed her sister. Ji explains, I wanted the police to track my sister and find her location before my father could reach. Seol continues to help her. They go to the school security room and review the surveillance cameras from the party. They see her sister, but are surprised to find her standing with the clumsy student. Since they know each other, they decide to monitor her in case she knows the way. At night, they wait outside the place where she takes private lessons. They follow her, but she senses them and notices their presence. Ji asks if she knows her sister's location, and the clumsy student replies that she met her by chance at school and greeted her. Suddenly, Ji receives a call from an unknown number. The caller says, I know your sister's location, and if you want to know, you will also bring a quantity of what you sell and meet me at a nightclub. He sends her the address. Ji is forced to comply, goes to get the pills from home, and goes to meet him. Seol and the clumsy student insist on going with her. They agree to change their clothes so no one recognizes them as students, and successfully do so, disguising themselves before entering the nightclub. Ji goes to leave the goods in the bathroom, as instructed, agreeing with Seol and the clumsy student that they will monitor the place to see who takes the goods. However, the clumsy student forgets about the mission, since it's her first time in such a place, and goes to drink and dance, ruining the plan. Seol then sees a young man wearing a cap and thinking he is the one who contacted them. She continues to follow him, but the clumsy student notices a girl entering the bath. They follow her and find her taking the goods. She sprays her with water to grab them, but when she sees her face, she is shocked to find it is their rich friend. Yes, dear viewer, don't be surprised. They sit with her, and she begins to confess everything. She admits she was the one who arranged with the young man to contact them in order to take the goods and sell them to earn money because her family was poor and heavily in debt. Seol and Ji are surprised by her words, but feel sympathy, and Seol thanks her for being honest. Then the thug who had Seol arrives and asks to speak with her. He tells her he saw Ji's sister sister escaping, and that the ambulance caught her and took her to a clinic to treat her condition. Suddenly, Ji receives a call and learns that they have found her sister. Sol goes with her, holding her hand the entire way to reassure her. And here comes the shock. Yes, dear viewer, she's dead. Ji goes to see her herself, but her features are not clear. She suspects it is not her. The doctor says she escaped the clinic and later fell from the mountain, explaining why her face is not visible. Sol is deeply affected and struggles with Ji's condition because she loved her sister. The next day, she goes to school but is distracted and unfocused. She hears students saying that GA is unfortunately the reason her sister died. She gets angry, throwing balls at them to shut them up, warning them that if they mention her name again, they will regret it. Meanwhile, GA keeps having nightmares, imagining her sister asking for her help. She wakes up startled, feeling guilty and unable to forgive herself for treating her sister badly. Later, Sol goes to visit her to make sure she is okay. GA decides to confess that she managed to unlock her father's phone. Sol is shocked and asks how she knew the password. GA explains that it was the day Sol got lost. She calls Sol and reveals that her father really loved her, and he never abandoned her as she thought. She asks her to return the phone, but GA says it has disappeared. She suspects that her sister took it. Sol can't believe she did that herself, and cries because she missed. Sol comforts her to ease her distress, and repeatedly reassures her. She goes to the clinic where her sister had been treated. There, she meets someone and asks about GE's sister, but the woman tells her that she was treated a long time ago and gives her the hotel address where she had stayed. Sol repeatedly goes there, and when she arrives, she finds the clumsy girl and the rich girl there as well. They decide to enter the room together. They search through it, and Sol finds a box, sensing that it holds a secret. She decides to break its lock and is shocked to find it contains her own diaries. As she reads, she learns that Ji's sister had been trying to become the top student to please her father, but due to the immense pressure, she broke down and couldn't cope. She began to hallucinate, imagining Ji mocking her. Her cruel father decided to intervene. He met with Sol's father and threatened to expose him, claiming he was in a relationship with his student. He offered to help him find Sol, who had gotten lost, in exchange for leaking the exams to Ji's sister. Sol's father had no choice but to agree. The day came for the teachers to prepare the exam question. He went to a secret location where no phones were allowed and managed to learn all the answers. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he went into the bathroom, wrote the answers on a paper, and swallowed it as he had agreed with Ji's father. Later, he felt exhausted and faint. The ambulance took him to the hospital, where Ji's father received him and successfully retrieved the exam paper, but he decided to eliminate him to ensure that no one would find out. Ji's sister was the only one who witnessed this, which is why she had fled from home. Returning to the present, Sol learns that it was Ji's father who killed her own father. She becomes furious and repeatedly plots revenge. She goes to his hospital, meets Ji, learns everything, and starts interrogating, believing that her father might have been involved in her sister's death. She continues to help Ji find evidence against him. Disguised as a nurse, she enters the hospital and disables the surveillance cameras to avoid being seen. She even attends her sister's funeral so that no one suspects her. She enters Ji's father's office and searches thoroughly, but finds nothing. He had erased all evidence to protect himself. Angry and determined to avenge her father, she returns to the funeral and runs toward Ji's father to confront him. Luckily, her father's wife arrives just in time to stop her, warning her that she might ruin her future. Ji retrieves the knife from the floor so no one knows what she intended to do. Afterwards, Seul and her father's wife meet with the clumsy girl's mother, who is a lawyer, asking her to take charge of the case. She agrees but tells them there is no evidence against Ji's father. Nothing proves he caused Sol's father's death because Ji's sister was the only witness, but she had died. Sol feels frustrated and disappointed but doesn't give up, believing that Ji's sister is still alive. That night, she goes to meet her father, following him, but suddenly someone appears behind her and grabs her. Sol panics, thinking she might be kidnapped, but realizes it's Ji. Worried for her, they hide so no one notices them, but they cannot reach any conclusion because her father is clever. The next day is the court date. The lawyer hopes that Sol will find Ji's sister and have her testify. Unfortunately, Sol and Ji cannot reach her, and the judge postpones the case due to lack of evidence. After leaving the court, Sol feels disheartened, but Ji holds her hand to comfort her. They see her father, who is tired, take her in the car and gives her a phone to monitor what happened. Ji is shocked to see that he installed surveillance cameras in her car. Suddenly, a car hits her on the road, but luckily her father's wife hits the brake time. Sol collapses in tears, and Ji realizes how dangerous her father is. He tells her, "You wronged me," and tries to make her understand the truth. He takes her to an isolated place in the forest, where she finds her sister in prison. Surprised, she hugs her and repeatedly reassures her as she prepares to testify in court. But when she tries to leave the room, the alarm goes off because of her sister, who begins to feel a headache and scream. She learns that a device is attached to her sister's leg to prevent her from leaving the room. Angry, she asks why he is doing it. He tells her, "I wasn't the one who finished off Seul's father. Your sister did," explaining that when he completed the autopsy, her sister disconnected the device to ensure no one would expose her secret. He reveals that he had been trying to protect her the entire time. Ji is incredulous and asks her sister if this is true, but she doesn't answer and continues to cry. Her father tells her that he erased a large portion of her memory so she wouldn't feel guilty and warns her not to mention it to anyone. He demands that she stay away from Seoul and become the top student, otherwise he will eliminate her. Ji-yi is terrified and continues to obey him. The next day, Seul goes to school, but notices that Ji-ae is absent. She finds it strange because this is unlike her, and she becomes worried. She asks the school about her, but they tell her that Ji-ae is sick and took a day off. Of course, Seul doesn't believe them. After class, she tries calling Ji-ae, but there is no answer. She searches everywhere, but can't find her, so she decides to go to the hospital. There, she sees Ji-ae standing with her father. Seul tries to go in, but the security stops her. She waits outside, and when Ji-ae comes out, Seul tries to talk to her and asks if she's sick. Ji-ae responds coldly from a distance, saying, "I don't need you anymore." Seul realizes that Ji-ae had been using her all this time, treating her like a servant for amusement. Ji-ae laughs, tells her to stay away, and warns her not to look for her sister, or she will regret it, then walks away. Ji-ae did all this out of fear for Seul, but Seul feels betrayed, thinking that Ji-yi had pretended to be her friend to deceive her. She cries, and back at home, tries to study, but feels exhausted without her stimulant. She falls asleep sitting at her desk and wakes up hallucinating, imagining herself drowning in the sea. The next day, she goes to school for an exam, but can barely read the questions due to exhaustion. Even though the questions are easy, she cannot answer. Time runs out, the teacher collects the papers, and when the results are announced, everyone is shocked to see Seul ranked 15th, while the top student is the clumsy girl. Later, Ji-yi returns home, gives her father her results, apologizes for coming second, and asks for his help. She requests that he assist her as he did with her sister, leaking the exam answers. After school, Seul goes home and sees her father's wife driving a new, expensive car. She suspects, and her fears turn out to be true. Yes, she had abandoned the case. Seul becomes angry, and when she confronts her, her father's wife says she lost hope and had no other solution. Seul, frustrated, leaves. Refusing to give up, she goes to the place where Ji-yi's sister is buried and decides to steal her remains. She plans to perform a DNA test to prove that they are not hers. Ji-yi's father sees her, but refuses to report her. He offers her a deal: stop searching for him in exchange for him leaking the final exam answers. Seul is shocked and suspects that Ji-ae is behind them. She goes to confirm and finds Ji-ae training in swimming. She runs toward her and finds her standing in a high place. Fearing she might jump, Seul risks her life to see whether Ji-yi is deceiving her or truly considers her a friend. She runs toward the pool and jumps in. Ji-ae reacts, afraid for her, and jumps in to rescue her, pulling her out of the water. Seul is relieved and realizes that Ji-ae's words were sincere, meant to protect. They agree to work together to gather evidence against Ji-ae's father and make him pay for his crimes. Ji-ae agreed. The next day, Seul meets the young thug who had been with her in the orphanage. She asks him to help her in exchange for selling exam answers to wealth students so he can make a lot of money. Of course, he agrees. That night, they begin executing their plan. They monitor Ji-yi's father and learn that he plans to leak the exams that day. They take advantage of the opportunity and ambush his ambulance, forcing the driver out and taking control of the vehicle. Their plan works, and Ji-yi's father boards the vehicle unaware that they are driving. They kidnap him, take him to an isolated place, and threaten him to hand over the exam answers or else they will harm him. Seul finds out that he is hiding the answers in his pocket and takes them. Suddenly, Ji-ae arrives. It turns out that the thug knows they are working together, so he threatens Seul to hand over the answer. She refuses and is forced to swallow them, so no one else can take them. Everyone is shocked by what happened, but the thug gets angry and demands that Ji-yi's father perform a procedure to retrieve the answers from her stomach. And indeed, that is what happens. They take her to the hospital where the wealthy student's parents are waiting. The thug hands out the exam answers to them for a large sum of money so their children can succeed. Ji-yi stays beside Seul to make sure she is okay, but her father knows she will only regain consciousness tomorrow. He gives her the real exam answers and explains that the thug only had fake. He warns her that she must succeed and become the top student, or he will harm Seul. Ji-yi is scared and has no choice but to comply. The next day, on the day of the final exam, everyone discovers that the questions are different from what they studied. Only Ji-yi knows them because they are the same ones she got from her father, and she answers them easily. A week passes after that day, and the results are announced. Ji-yi achieves the top score and becomes the first among all schools, not just her own. The next day, her father appears on a TV program, proud of her, and everyone learns that she will enter medical school just like him. Meanwhile, Ji-yi begins executing her plan. She goes to the place where her father had hidden her sister, dresses her in a rescue suit, and takes her out. They jump from the window into the sea, filming everything. Ji-yi broadcasts the video on television, and everyone reacts to what happened. Rescue teams and the police arrive to search. They manage to pull her out of the water, but they are shocked to discover that it is Ji-yi's sister. Everyone realizes she is still alive. Seul arrives at the scene, crying and asking the rescue team to find Ji, but unfortunately, no one can locate her. The next day, the news spreads. spreads. Everyone learns that Ji-Yi's father had leaked the exam. He is arrested and sentenced to prison to pay for his crime. Days go by, and no one knows where Ji-Yi. People assume she has died, while the other students begin pursuing their dream. The wealthy girl takes a part-time job to pay off her debts and, by chance, is noticed by a famous actress who admires her beauty and decides to hire her. The clumsy student continues her study to become a lawyer and defend the oppressed. Meanwhile, Sue studies diligently, this time relying on her own efforts to succeed and enter medical school. The night before her final exam, she falls asleep dreaming of Ji-Yi, waking up in a panic, only to hear someone knocking at the door. She goes to the door and finds a message from Ji-Yi. Opening it, she sees a picture of a place by the sea. Overjoyed, she confirms that Ji-Yi is still alive. She resolves to succeed in her exam so she can meet Ji-Yi there, and they can both enter medical school together. Seol is thrilled, regains hope, and feels motivated to pursue her dream. She is finally on track to achieve her goal and enter the college she always wanted. The story ends happily. If you enjoyed this, please like the video, share your thoughts about the series in the comments, and I'll see you in a new K-drama recap.